We
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome to this live session on Unit 2, the latter half of Unit 2, which is just gets more and more fun as this unit goes along.
And it's probably one of the more difficult things, if not arguably some of the most difficult content of this course. So if you're
Yes.
having trouble, it's understandable, and you shouldn't feel frustrated about that. Well, you can feel frustrated, but
You can feel frustrated, but you should also feel hopeful and optimistic because every single one of you can master this, and that's because it's in your bones. And as we've talked about many times, it's really all about
Robin,
applying. Yes.
why am I hearing? Um,
Or you're hearing feedback or
I'm
something?
I'm hearing. Yeah, I'm hearing.
I got my headphones.
No, it was me actually. It was
Oh,
completely
shame.
my fault, and I don't think you were hearing it, but I was hearing an echo. So
Trying to blame me for your problems.
I frequently do that. I frequently do that.
Anyway, as I was saying, rhythm is something that all of you know and feel and have in your bones. And really, all you're doing here is you're applying concepts and written symbols to things you already can understand. So it's not like if I were going to study chemistry, for example, I would have no clue about anything. I would be completely a beginner, but none of you are true beginners. All of you ha- know this on some level, and it's about figure the hard part. I'm not saying it's not difficult, but the hard part is taking these very old, sometimes a bit confusing written symbols and figuring out how they apply to these things that you already know. So, lecture over. So let's get to the content. But first, we thought maybe we'd open it up to questions. We're gonna go through like we did last time. But if anyone has a burning question, feel free to start posting them in Piazza. And as you know, you're also welcome to join us on the call. That would be great. We'd love to have you live, talking to us, hearing your voice. So it's a Google Hangout call, and the way it will work if you do that is that you'll be talking to us in real time. The video that you're watching on Piazza is a little bit behind real time, so it'll seem a bit surreal. But
Yeah, if you have a Gmail account and you have a Google Hangout account, which comes with a Google Plus account, you're welcome to join us. Keep in mind that we're going to need you to stop your Piazza feed. Otherwise, we get a lot of feedback. So you want to stop the playback in Piazza
that's
when
right.
you're online with us. And if you have headphones, that would be cool too. But I'm going to now post the link into the forum. So if you want to join us, you're welcome to.
And I have, in the meantime, shared my screen so that you're seeing the rhythm palette from Unit 2, so we can experiment a bit. Um, this isn't going to serve us when we're talking about time signatures, which I think is probably the single most confusing thing in all of music notation. If I were to have to choose one thing,
It
um,
is
but
confusing, but
but
I
let's
didn't like fractions either.
yeah, fraction. Well, and that's
And
part
these
of the
are
problem
fractions.
is that time signatures aren't fractions, even though they look exactly like them, which just makes everything even worse. Um, but first, just quickly, let's talk about tuplets.
I
And
don't understand tuplets, so I think you should
okay, yeah, so let's
talk
help
about
Doc
tuplets.
Wilcox out with tuplets a little bit.
Yeah, it was a sticking point. I barely made it through
Yeah,
because
I
I
had
didn't
to
I
help
didn't
him a
get
lot as
tuplets.
we were writing the course, but he caught on eventually.
Mm.
Um,
I
so
cheated. I looked on his paper.
never, never, never cheat.
Never,
Okay.
never.
Um, so here we have a measure. I hope if you can't see what I'm doing on my screen, tell us on Piazza and I'll adjust. But what you have right here is a measure of 4/4 time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Now what a tuplet, the most common kind of tuplet is a triplet. And there's a slight notational problem here because there's no little number 3 above this, but this is what a triplet would look like. And it's essentially three eighth notes fitting into the same amount of time and the same amount of space on the page as 2 regular eighth notes. So it would look kind of like this. In a measure of 4/4, you could fit 12 of these instead of 8 eighth notes. Whoops. And what this would sound like would be 1 enda, 2 enda, 3 enda, 4 enda. Make sense? It's notice that the triplet eighth notes go faster because more of them have to fit into the same amount of time, and the regular eighth notes go a bit slower. That's essentially what it boils down to. And then, of course, you can have different kinds of tuplets. You can have quintuplets, septuplets, but triplets are really the most common. You could also have duplets, which is just the opposite. If the main meter is compound, meaning that there's 3 little eighth notes in each beat, the regular meter would be da 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 da, and then these would be duplets. So what I just said could sound really confusing, but it's also really simple, and that's kind of the whole problem with this unit. It's both incredibly simple and basic, but somehow there's a subtlety to it that can get confusing. So if you're grappling with that, we sympathize and we understand, but we want to hear from you.
Can we see that with meter numbers? Maybe that might help us move into meters. The same duple, triple, or compound.
Yeah. So what you have here also, this little example, and by the way, Shruti, Rana, I see your question about grading, and why don't we, if it's okay with you, let's get to that toward the end, because it's important, but I want to make sure we get through all this unit stuff, and we can answer you later if we don't get to it, but we will get to it. So, Doc Wilcox, you mean talking about sort of what the difference between simple time and compound time?
Yeah, but also show the example, describing duplets and triplets, in my mind would be a little clearer if we actually showed the meter.
Yeah, I know. I don't seem to have an access to the...
Are there not numbers down at the bottom?
Oh, maybe they're just hiding in plain sight.
Maybe if you scroll down a little bit, I think there's some numbers across the bottom.
Oh, it's not letting me scroll for some reason.
Doesn't like you.
No, it doesn't. Oh, right. Yeah, it's really not letting me scroll. That's unfortunate.
How strange.
Yeah. This has never, ever happened before. I'm going to resize my window. I'm working on a tiny little screen.
Ah.
That's part of the problem. I have a little, like, mini computer that I'm working with here. Well, why don't we jump to the lesson, and there are going to be examples over there.
Okay.
And I'm just going to jump right into time signatures because just as a general comment, we're not going to have time to talk about everything you need to know. This is sort of highlights, and again, we want to hear your questions because we want to jump right to what you really need to know the most.
Yeah, we want to jump to what you're most interested in.
Yeah. So keep them coming. So the thing with time signatures is that you're basically combining 2 facets of time as it passes by. One is how many beats are in a measure, and that's the 3 types of meter that you see here: duple, triple, and quadruple. That's overall how many beats there are in the measure, and that's the top number in the time signature most of the time. Then the bottom number is what type of beat equals 1 beat. What kind of note equals 1 beat. And then this chart, I like this chart that you see here where it says simple meters, because what it shows you is that time signatures are really just all the different combinations of kind of 2 components. So as long as you understand the basic components, you can combine them all different ways, and then you get all these different time signatures. But really, they boil down to just a couple concepts. So in this case, vertically, you're just seeing 3 different numbers of beats you can have in a bar. 2 beats is duple, 3 beats, triple, 4 beats, quadruples. Totally simple. On the horizontal, you're just seeing that each of those beats can be arbitrarily represented by a different time value, an eighth note, a quarter note, or a half note. And then that leads to all 9 of these different combinations.
Robin, why don't I go ahead and try to demonstrate some of these, just because I seem to be able to get at my numbers.
Yes, good idea.
So why don't we start with kind of the standard everyone knows or might be most familiar with, just 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
In 4/4, we're going to have 4 beats, and really with these simple meters, they often will have a 4 at the bottom, but the 4 at the top indicates how many beats there are. So we'll just put 4 beats. And what do we want to know next, Professor McQuillan?
Wait, I was looking at my thing.
Oh, okay. How to divide the beats?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I may give myself a little more space here.
Good idea.
In a simple meter, the beats divide in 2. And this is going to help us with meter when we look at compounds, so it's good to kind of know the process. But here we have 4 beats. Quarter note gets the beat because the 4 is on the bottom. And the other meters that we have you look at that are simple generally are 3/4, which essentially has 3 beats, 3 quarter notes. I'll just do that real quick. And those all divide in 2, and then 2/4. Where it gets more complicated and where people have more trouble are with the compound meters. And essentially the compound meters just are telling us something different. They're really telling us different sort of information. The simple meters are telling us how many beats are in the bar and what kind of duration gets the beat. The compound meters are essentially telling us this is a compound meter. And on top you get like a 6, you get 9, or you get 12. And essentially these are saying, we are compound meters, pay attention. When you see this number, pretty much, it's a compound meter.
So what is it about those numbers that signals compoundness?
Well, they're all divisible by 3.
Yes.
Now 3/4 is a little different because it's divisible by 3, but they're all multiples of 3. So here, even though we're getting a 6/8, what this means is that we're going to have 6 eighth notes in the bar, but that doesn't tell us what is getting the beat. That just says there's 6 eighth notes in the bar. And so the trick you kind of have to remember is that divisible by 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I divide 3 into the 6, I get 2. And that tells me how many beats are in the bar. So if I have 6 and I have 2 beats in the bar, the beats are going to be a dotted quarter note. So essentially when you see 6/8, 9/8, 12/8, it is saying 6 divided by 3 is 2, duple, 9 divided by 3 is 3, triple, 12 divided by 3 is 4, quadruple, and with these compound beats, each of those there's going to be 3 eighth notes in each one of those beats. So I'm not sure if I did that justice.
Part of this is about memorization, because and just sort of training yourself to remember this, because in a way the logic breaks down a little bit, because in simple meters you're like Doc Wilcox said, the time signature is telling you one thing. In compound meters they're telling you another thing, and compound meters are there's really only a few of them. There's 6/8, 9/8, 12/8, and then there could be 6/16, 9/16, 12/16, but yeah, that's really all there is. So if you just memorize, if you see 6/8, it's compound meter. You see 9/8, compound meter, but if it helps you remember, the difference is in the beat division, and so if you see in the top example 4/4, the quarter notes are the beats. The eighth notes are the beat division, and if you remember that meter has this sort of hierarchical structure of beat, and then inside of those beats, beat division. That's where the difference in the time signature is. the simple meter tells you the beats, and the compound meter tells you the beat divisions. It tells you how many beat divisions. So in 6/8, there are only 2 beats, but there are 6 beat divisions. So the 6 isn't entirely meaningless. It's telling you something, but it just is telling you about a different hierarchical level of the meter. So that might sound really technical and confusing. If it does, just ignore me and just remember 6/8 is compound meter, 9/8 is compound meter, and look at a lot of examples and just listen to them, and you'll get the feel for it, and you'll get it's something you just get used to ultimately.
Yeah, it's something, unfortunately, that is that way. You have to get used to it. And, you know, the kind of the American tendency to call these quarter notes and eighth notes is kind of further amplifies the problem, because, you know, they're really not strictly, outside of the simple meters, it doesn't really divide that way. You know, a whole note does not always fill a bar. So what do? A half note does not always fill half a bar. And so calling it that is really deceptive, and those terms kind of came about to make things simple, but they only make things simple in very specific settings, and they actually make it much more complicated outside of that settings.
And another, I agree with that, and another point about terminology, like the terms simple and compound. I mean, the difference between them is 2 is simple, beat division of 2 is simple, beat division of 3 is compound. What is that? Why is 3 compound and 2 is simple? It doesn't really, I don't know, it's not an obvious, the terminology is not obvious why it's called that. So again, it's just something, well, you have to kind of just get used to it, like simple and compound. That's
simple is simple, the beat divides by 2, compound, the beat divides by 3.
Yeah, but there's no, like, those terms by themselves don't really tell. If I just said, hey, compound meter, and you'd never heard of it before, you wouldn't automatically think, oh, that must be a triple beat division. No.
Yeah, it sounds like, oh, that must be really complicated. In fact, it makes them sound like they're really totally different things, and they're really not. Like right here, I have 4/4. I have a quadruple meter. It's got 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here I have 12/8. Oh my God, 12/8 sounds horrible. No, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4. It's still 4 beats. But in 4/4, they tell us, okay, the beat is the quarter note, right? Because that's what the simple meters tell us, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the beat divides into 2. In 12/8, they're essentially saying, okay, you have 12 divisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here you've got the same thing, right? 4 beats, but here instead of here you have 3/8 notes in each beat. That's why they're dotted quarters. And here you have 2/8 notes in each beat. But at its core, it's quadruple meter. There's 4 beats in the bar. Strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak. That same pattern exists in both compound and simple. It's just some beats are divided in 3 and some beats are divided in 2. That's it.
Yeah, and that's an important point about the difference in the beats. If you look at if you see a piece of music where there's a lot of dotted quarter notes, and especially if you see little groups of 3/8 notes that line up with each dotted quarter note, you're probably in compound time, because the dotted note value, usually a quarter, but it could be a dotted eighth note, it could be a dotted half note, that kind of is a visual signal that you're in compound time. However, of course, dotted notes can occur in simple times, and they do all the time. So again, this is something where if I say that, and but you can't take it as a rule to live by. You're always going to have to look at the full context. But it is kind of a quick check-in way to kind of.
Yeah. So here I'm going to do something tricky.
Ooh, yes.
I'm going to change 4/4. I mean my 12/8 to 4/4, right? And so what I do here to create the same effect in 4/4 is to make triplets. And here we have triplets. And essentially that's what a triplet is. It's a compound beat inside a simple meter.
It's so like you're temporarily borrowing compoundness in the context of a simple meter.
Do you think that would work the same way in a compound meter? Do you think we could borrow simple beats in a compound meter?
Most certainly you can.
Okay, so here I've got my simple beats division, and of course, since we're in 12/8, our beats are dotted quarters, right? So 2/8 does not equal dotted quarters. So what do we have to do to get a 2 in the time of 3? Well, we make duplets, and we put little 2s. And essentially what we're doing here is we're borrowing a division. Here we're borrowing simple beats and putting those simple beats in a compound. Here we're borrowing compound beats and putting them in simple.
Do you mind if I demo your little example?
If you want.
As Doc Wilcox had said, these two measures he's written out really are the... Wait, you made it go away. Help.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry,
they're really the same basic phenomenon, just to connect this back to actual sound. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that on the top, those are dotted quarters. On the bottom, they're quarters. But that's how they sound. They actually sound the same, assuming the tempo is the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, 12/8, the default is that divides into 1 enda, 2 enda, 3 enda, 4 enda, dot 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 dot, where each beat divides into 3. The default in 4/4 is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, where each beat divides into 2. With tuplets, you're just borrowing in the opposite type of beat temporarily. So usually they happen kind of in more isolated ways. So you might have, like, in 4/4, you might have like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 enda, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 enda, 3 enda, 4. And so you have just the occasional beat has the triple, but most of them have the duple. And then it can go the other way. So you can have 12/8 and it can be going 1 enda, 2 enda, 3 enda, 4 enda, 1 and 2 enda, 3 enda, 4 enda. So it's like really just these couple very simple little sound phenomenon of, you have your beats, you have two different ways of dividing them up. That's really all there is to it. But then you have all these complicated ways of writing it down, and that's where it gets tricky.
So here's a hypothetical. Would it be possible, Professor McClellan, if a composer wrote a piece in 12/8 but didn't divide the beats at all, just had note values of a beat, could the composer write the exact same piece in 4/4 without any beat divisions and have it sound the same?
Wait, say your question again.
Okay, too complicated.
No, I just got distracted because Janae Jones...
Oh, Janae. Hello, Janae.
Hey, just asked, I'm going to write back, is it back visible now? I think that the music example got hidden.
Oh, yeah. I think it also requires me talking.
I see.
Yeah, so as soon as you start talking, it switches over.
I'll shut up.
Yeah, because it's on my screen.
Right.
So what's Janae asking?
Just whether it's visible again.
Okay. Yeah, you're looking at it in its most complicated state. Just for a little kind of housekeeping with Professor McClellan, if you don't want it to switch back and forth, which is what I discovered while I was eating my snack when we started here, you can turn your microphone off briefly, and that will keep it from switching back and forth. And what happens is it tracks to the loudest sound. So if Professor McClellan would start talking, it would show what's on his screen, and as long as I continue talking without taking a breath, which can really be quite a long time, it'll continue to show what's on my screen.
Well, let me just interject that
I think we should move on.
Yeah, we should move on, and we don't have much. We want to keep it to a half hour if we can, but we also want to answer your questions. So
yeah, we're already close to a half hour, so I think we should.
I know, so open up the floodgate. What do you want to know? I know there's hordes of you out there.
And if you want to join in, the link is right there, so please, and that's so much easier to answer questions that way.
Yep. We know there's hordes of you out there watching right now, vast.
And by hordes, I mean four, two. Wait, the two of us. I don't know. No, I guess it's probably four of you. Woohoo!
Woohoo! So bring it on. In other words, but in the meantime, should we go on to another topic, or should we? I could go on just to talk about just a general comment. Notational conventions 7a and b. If you thought the earlier stuff was confusing, it gets even worse. And this is, again, I guess my best piece of advice is just you will get used to it if you just study this stuff. It does make sense. Maybe that's a good thing to say too. Is there will be times when you're like, this just doesn't make any sense. What are these people talking about? And I promise you that it does actually make sense. So if you have some trust and faith, that might help you.
Well, why don't you go ahead and talk through one or two of those examples? Because what they're doing in those notation homeworks is sort of where the exam heads. So if you can just maybe we should just open up, notation practice 1 and notation practice 2 and walk through some examples and just break them down and show them how we would do them. And
you mean the homeworks?
Yeah, because it's as you all students hopefully know by now, a lot of this is really highly randomized. So we might solve one of your homework problems for you by talking you through it, or we might not. So maybe you'll get lucky, and you should watch, and we'll give you all the answers.
Yes, good idea. So here we have 9-8. Can you let us know if you can't see my screen?
I'm going to turn my mic off so I don't hop in.
Okay, so right away you see what we were talking about before. You see a compound meter, and you can tell visually right away that it's compound because you see all these little groups of 3. And you see a dotted quarter, which is that signal of 3-ness, compoundness. In other words, the beat is in 3. So it's giving you a blank to fill in. So you have one group of 3. You have your other group of 3. What's left? One more group of 3. And then you have to find down here, well, which one of these is equal to 3? And 3 of what? Well, 3 eighth notes. So you scan along. This is only a fraction of an eighth note. This is half of an eighth note. This is 3/4 of an eighth note. Blah, 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 blah. Quarter, oh, that's getting close. Dotted quarter. That is the correct answer because it fills out. This is actually, if you want to go a slightly simpler route, the literal meaning of 9/8 here can help you as well, because it literally just means 9 eighth notes are in the measure. So if you can do a little bit of arithmetic on the notes, that will solve it for you too. So you can go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so far so good. Now what's a dotted quarter worth? Well, a quarter is worth 2. That's 4, 5. Dot's worth 1, 6. How many do I have left? 7, 8, 9. I need 3 more. Which of these is worth 3? And so on. Okay, so let's do that with the next measure. It's even easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 2 more. We could go, if we wanted to do it simplistically, we could do this, but we've asked you, that's 2 eighth rests. We've asked you, I believe, to use the largest possible note value for each case. So instead of 2 eighth notes, we're going to use a single value that's worth 2 eighth notes, which is quarter, and so on. It's kind of all about arithmetic. So I'm going to move on fairly quickly.
We do have a question about from Dina about I guess about tuplets again. So just so we know that's back on the table.
Yes. Let me see here. Why don't I really briefly jump to the tuplets homework, because that will show you right away, I believe.
We're doing your homework for you folks, so
yes.
I don't know what more we can do.
So trying to find a good example to show the numbers. Okay, so I want to use a triplet because that tends to be a little easier. Okay, which of the following is a compound division of a half note? Well, what you do is you start with the simple division. So a simple division of a half note would be what? 2 quarter notes. With a compound division, you want to fit 3 of those same things into the same space as 2 would normally fit. So you need to choose the quarter note values. So then you're narrowing it down to these 2 choices. But you need the one with the little 3 over it. Otherwise, it would just be 3 regular quarter notes that wouldn't fit. So the little 3 with the bracket is the quarter note triplet. I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but I hope it comes close. I'll just give you the answer on this one. Dotted quarter note, 3 regular eighth notes. This is 3 regular eighth notes now would fit into a dotted quarter note. That's compound time. So to get the duplet version of that, uh-oh, now I'm going to run myself into a hole because I always forget this. And maybe it's good to show a little bit of humility because I'm a distinguished, world-famous music theory professor. And I'm even having a little moment of doubt whether it's 2 quarters or 2 eighths. And I'm going to say 2 eighths. Doc Wilcox, are you with me?
I am with you. Okay. And I'm not gonna save you.
Oh man.
Oh man.
I saved you when you were confused. Man. All right. I'm gonna stick to my guns on this and say 2 eighth notes is the answer because it's sort of the same concept.
Yeah, it's the same concept. Yeah.
So.
But I mean, as you see, I mean, these notation issues are complicated and they can be a little thorny. And what's interesting is in all of music theory, you can take course upon course upon course about music theory on into infinity, and maybe at some point during your doctoral program, someone will start to talk about meter again. Maybe. So this is like the only time in all of music theory that it's like a required part of the curriculum to talk about the basics of notating rhythm.
Yep.
Everything else from here on out is about pitch, and it's not just for the rest of this course. It's like for the rest of music theory. Oh, we lost a viewer. we got to move on.
All right, we're running out of time. So let me just do page 2 of Notation Practice Homework 1, adding bar lines. This is kind of again about arithmetic. So here we have 3/4 time. That means you just have to be solid on what that actually means. And it means 3 quarter notes in the measure. How many quarter notes is a half? 2. 1, 2, 3. Add a bar line. Oh, no, not there. Over here. Boom. Another one right here. Oh, no, wait a second. Get rid of that. Notice the little plus and minus. This is a brilliant system devised by Doc Wilcox for this assignment. 1, 2, 3, bar line. 1, 2, 3, and so on. A little more complicated example. Let me get more. Okay, here's a good one, juicy one. So again, you can use, in this case with the compound meters, you can use the basic meaning of the numbers to help you. So we need 12 eighth notes. There may not be 12 beats in the measure. There's only 4, but there are indeed 12 eighth notes. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Boom. Oh boy, this is a nasty one. Okay, 1, those 2/16 is 1. 2. I would even, if you don't feel confident on this, even like take your pencil or your mouse on the screen and just point at each one as you go by. So 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Boom, and so on. Jumping quickly ahead, I'm just going to go right into practice number 2. And I've got my screen all blown up, too big. Beaming, oh boy, this is a nightmare. If you are fuzzy on beaming, you're not alone.
Yeah, this is probably the most difficult homework assignment in the entire course. So don't be, it's just that's just how it is, and but it's not as bad as it might seem. So, and Professor McClellan's going to fix all your problems. So let's hear it.
I'm just
fix the problem.
I'm just going to give you the answers straight up on this one. And again, this comes down to what you need to know. You just need to be solid on what the time signature actually means. In fact, beaming in a way can help illustrate the true meaning of a time signature, and I'll give you that. This is going to show you what I mean. The first beat is 3/8 notes. So to show that to the viewer, in the olden days, if you were a choral singer in the 1870s, you would be faced with a score that looks like this, with all these little separate little flags. And I wouldn't be able to sight read this. I don't know who could. But so then they decided, okay, let's put these little beams together to show, okay, these three belong to one beat, and instantly you can see that. Now, what about this mess over here? We have 1, 2, 3. Again, there's more notes, but it's still a triple phenomenon. So I'm going to use this. So 6/8 is 2 beats in the measure. Each beat divides in 3. There are 2 beams in the measure, just like there are 2 beats. Maybe that's a good, I just thought of this. 1 beam per beat. 2 beats, 2 beams.
Oh, that sounds good.
Maybe this has been thought of millions of times, but
maybe just be careful. Don't bite off more than you can chew there.
I know, I'm getting over my head.
You get overly excited.
I'll just give you the full-on answer to this one, just for fun. So that's what that would look like. And then, of course, you enter this little code into the box, NBCACN. This is actually a common question we get. You see here the red notes. Not every note with a flag has to connect to a beam, and in fact some can't connect to a beam. And this is an example because 6/8 time, quarter plus an eighth is 1 beat. So this eighth, every eighth belongs with some other notes inside of a beat. And in this case, the eighth belongs with a quarter, and it's the only lonesome eighth in that beat. All these other eighths have little eighth note friends that belong in their beat with them. This one is by itself, so it's okay to not put a beam on that one, and that's why we marked it. That's probably about all we need to say, other than just
because of the complexity of this, maybe do one more in a simple meter. Just one more.
Yeah, all right.
And remember, anyone can join. I mean, we got the live link posted there. All you have to do is,
all right, so
sign on.
Okay, wait a minute. I was about to give you the wrong answer there. Simple meters, it's the same thing. 1 beam per beat. So 3/4 time, you know right away, I want 3 beams total to match my 3 beats. Beam, beat. Trying to get my consonants clear there. So 1 beat is 1 quarter note or 2 eighth notes. So my first move is to make these 2 eighth notes into 1 beam. There we go. Next, we need a total value of 2 eighth notes, which is eighth plus 2/16. And again, under 1 beam. So each of these beams is 1 beat. And then another one of those. And voila. The next measure is just going to be 3 of these guys. And again, you'll get used to this. This will be, it'll become second nature. Now, what's going on with this guy over here? Let's find out. So we have 4/16. That's going to be the first beat. All right, we have a slight exception right here. We have a case where this note is syncopated. This note actually belongs to 2 different beats. And so we have the first half of this beat is 2/16. The second half is the first half of this note. The final beat starts on the second half of this note, and then this is the final 8th note. I hope that makes sense. Call us if it doesn't. All right, moving right along. And then take a screenshot You're getting the answer from the horse's mouth right here. Um, and I think that about covers that. So anything else? Do we have more questions?
I do not think we have more questions.
Okay.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is this. I mean, this is a complicated topic. We're not trying to sugarcoat it for you, but ultimately it breaks down to 2s and 3s and 4s. There's duple, there's quadruple, or triple and quadruple. So 2,
Yep.
3, and 4. That's how many beats are in these bars. That's how many beats are in pretty much all of these bars. 2, 3, or 4. And those beats divide into 2s and 3s.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you can count and add, you should have confidence in your ability to do that. So if you're in 6/8, you need 6 eighth notes. If you're in 9/8, you need 9 eighth notes worth of duration. 12/8, 12 eighth notes worth of duration.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in the simple meters, 2/4, you need 2 quarters. 3/4, you need 3 quarters. 4/4, you need 4 quarters. And those bars are there to show the beat so that when a performer looks at this, they can quickly just play it. They don't want to have to count. They want to be able to see those kind of spaces in between. So they know where to tap their foot. They know where to put their fingers with confidence. So that's why the system has developed the way it is. And all you're doing is counting 2s, 3s, and 4s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all there is to it. And it might seem like it's more complicated than that. It's more nuanced than that. And it is, but it really isn't. If you can count 2s, 3s, and 4s, you should have confidence in your ability to do this. And please, 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 please write us because we will totally help you.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Hopefully we're helping.
Yeah. So, any other questions? We're gonna, Trudy, we're gonna answer your question in writing after this.
It's honestly it's a question we got all the time, so we might go ahead and answer it.
Okay.
And the reason I say go ahead and do a screenshot and just show or screen share and show Shruti is that the fact of the matter is that they are listening a couple minutes behind us, so right. They are just now getting the request to ask their last question. So might as well. We're gonna have to wait a couple minutes anyway. You might as well just go ahead and answer it.
Okay, so.
Tricky thing. We're not really supposed to show a grade book.
Yeah, so
right.
I'm showing the vital grade info page.
With either that or I can actually, I have access to things that I can.
Maybe that would be better.
Yeah, that would be better. So I'm going to open up a not a real course. All right, so let's see. Let me do.
While Doc Wilcox is loading that, I just want to reiterate, it's very important to read the vital grade info page, thus the word vital, because eCollege is confusing and not to pass the buck, but this is not our fault because we would have done this differently. But the way eCollege is set up, it's difficult to read the grade book, and students have. The problem is that it's set up so that you can easily think you're doing better than you actually are in the course, which can lead you far astray. So make sure you're reading the correct number in the grade book, which is where it says total, not where it says grade to date. And it's confusing because total is like this little number on the top, and then grade to date is the big official looking number. And that's actually not the number that you need to be reading.
Yeah, I'm actually having trouble. I'm going to have to advise you to look at the vital grade info page, and the reason I say that is, and I think you can find that off the homepage. I don't seem to be able to actually open that up on a class that doesn't have live students or former students, and we're not really legally allowed to show that.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and check that out from the course home, and you'll be able to see it.
And Shruti, you're asking how much the total is out of. Do you mean in the course in general or for a specific assignment? And for the course in general, the assignments are almost all out of 100, but in the syllabus we have a detailed breakdown of the course grade and what everything's worth, so just double check that. If you have already and you have a specific question, just shoot us a message on Piazza and we'll answer.
Yeah, generally speaking, assignments are worth 1 point. 1 point of your grade is assignments. 3 points for creative projects, each one of them, and then the exams are about 8 points each.
Yeah.
So pretty much, exams and homework are about even. If you skip a homework assignment and you just don't do it, you're going to be at 99% possible. And at the bottom of the gradebook, you'll see the amount you've completed out of the amount you've got out of the total amount that you've completed. So if you've done one homework assignment, at the bottom it'll say 1% completed out of 1% of the course or something like that.
Yep.
But on the front part it'll say 100%. Because
Right.
you got 100%, and that's the average that you've done on all the assignments. You've done one assignment, you got 100% on that assignment, that's your average. It says 100%. But if you're silly enough to think that you're going to get an A after doing one homework assignment out of about 60 assessments in this course, well, it's just too sad to talk about, really.
Yeah, that's the confusing thing. It can tell you that you have 100% in the course if you've done one assignment. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, so just double check. You'll be fine.
Yep. Well, shall we call it a night and leave our students to their own devices?
Yes, but I worry that we've left you more confused than you were before we started. So really, if you have trouble, just write us. We can do a one-on-one. This is a complicated topic, and we're happy to help as much as you need us to.
Absolutely.
And just one last swing through, and no, it doesn't seem like we got anything else, and I think we should call it quits.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone, and we are standing by, and your unit is due in 2 days.
Yep.
So jump right in there.
We're going off air.
All right. Good night, and good luck.
Night.